Be honest. Do you have a friend or a family member who keeps complaining about the same thing over and over and over and over again, but never does anything about it? Maybe they're in a toxic relationship or another kind of situation that they have all the power to get themselves out of, but they're not getting themselves out of it. They're not changing anything. And they're choosing you to be the person who has to listen to it. I feel like this happens to me all the freaking time for so many different reasons, okay? But let's talk about how this can be draining for you, the person who is lending the listening ear, and how to handle it without coming across as a complete jerk. If you are anything like me, you want good things for your family and friends. And you may be a person who is very solution oriented. I most certainly am. And one thing about me is I'm gonna tell you the truth. Now, I'm not gonna call you stupid or dumb or be disrespectful, but I do have a knack for identifying patterns. And 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna let you know what pattern I feel like you seem to be repeating. Unless you let me know before the conversation even begins if you want to just vent about the problem or you want solutions to the problem. I got to know. I've got to know. I feel like everybody does deserve a sounding board, someone to be there for them and share another perspective when they're spiraling. But if someone is always spiraling out of control over the same thing, it can start to feel like you're in an endless spin cycle in the washing machine from hell. You end up experiencing a constant emotional dumping. And it feels like there's no way out because they won't allow you a way out. They want you to be up in it. I'm talking about in it. But there's a limit between venting and beating a dead horse. Here's what's actually happening when you find yourself in this type of situation. People tend to recycle their complaints to avoid action. Quite literally, it feels safer to them to rehash the same thoughts over and over and over instead of doing anything to change the situation. It could be they're scared. It could be they're afraid of change. It could be they're trying to cling on to a certain identity. It could be for a number of different reasons that you wouldn't know anything about because you're not in their brain. Okay, you aren't in their head. Also, friends and family can sometimes unconsciously make you their coping mechanism. You always respond to them, you always text them back, you always call them back no matter what, and you always validate them. You always comfort them and make them feel better. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you take a different stance? What happens when you hold them accountable for something? Then they might get defensive, lash out, etc., etc., start really projecting. For real. And this is where boundaries come in. If you never set boundaries about how much you're willing to invest in certain conversations, you will always, I mean always, be taken for a ride. When this used to happen to me a lot, I didn't have any boundaries. If my friends or family wanted to call and vent to me or talk to me about an issue they were having, I'd always welcome it. Most times I would validate their position, back them up, you know what I mean? But then when it got repetitive, I didn't know how to separate their feelings from my feelings. I got sucked into their drama. I started caring more than they did about their problem, which in turn was messing up my flow, messing up my mood, messing up my emotions, messing up my vibe. But now, after working on myself more and getting more comfortable with setting boundaries and staying true to myself and standing on business and speaking up for myself. Now that I have more understanding on my personal capacity, I can absolutely shut it down before it gets too out of control. Now, I don't mind helping my friends overcome mental blocks or, process things emotionally if they need help, even though I'm not a therapist. And even if it takes a couple of conversations. But I won't sit here and listen to you talk about Jamarcus texting other women behind your back for the 10th time this year. Here's how I like to handle it. Now, first thing I try to do is get an understanding on what exactly they need from me in that moment. Do you want me to just listen? Or do you want my honest opinion? If the conversation catches me too off guard and I really don't have time to process what they want from me or why they want that from me, I will resort to just simply giving them my honest opinion anyway and just keeping it real. And most times my honest opinion does involve accountability. And I will hold everybody involved accountable. I will be fair and balanced. I find that this alone will stop people from continuing to circle back to me about the same issues because they know my stance, they know what I'm gonna say. And they know when they talk to me, they're not just gonna get a cute little pat on the back anymore. They're not gonna get that. We're gonna talk about the real issue. But if they continue to be a repeat offender, at that point, I will have to name my limit out loud. And I'll say something like, hey, I love you. I love you so much. But I can't keep talking about this with you. If you're not gonna do anything about it, let's just talk about something else. And if they keep on after that, it's okay to step back gracefully because you don't have to let people stress you out beyond your capacity. Please note, this is a very important note. This doesn't apply if your friend or family member or the person you care about is in danger or if they're in an abusive relationship. If they are, I would advise you to try to listen without judgment and also encourage them to get help. Try to offer resources and keep the door open while also keeping yourself safe. Caring about somebody for real, being a true friend, will sometimes mean calling them out when they need to be called out because real friends challenge each other to grow. And if you're tired of hearing your homegirl or your homeboy complain, that doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a human with limits. Don't forget, boundaries protect relationships. They don't destroy them. And maybe what you have to say from the bottom of your heart is exactly what your friend needs to take that next step in their situation. Well, that's all I have for this video. This was a quicker one, but let me know what you think in the comments. Have you ever had a friend or family member who kept calling you and calling you on the same old stuff? Please like, share, and subscribe. As always, stay gorgeous, and I will see you in the next one.
What you want.